Hello everyone, this is Deepak and in today's class we shall be understanding, analyzing characteristics of literature. In the last class we understood the meaning, definition and major features or significance of literature. But in this class we shall be understanding its characteristics, its features in details so that we can make our own conclusion regarding literature. Okay, what literature really mean, for what purpose it should be taught and for what purpose it should be gained or it should be opted as an study or subject of discipline, right. So, in this video we shall be focusing on literature and its characteristics. So, friends, be with me and be focused. Friends, as I told you, literature. If you have watched my last video, then I am sure you must have understood what is literature. In last video, we have defined literature in the most possible way and in the most lucid way. But in this video, we shall not be wasting our time in defining literature that we have already covered. We shall be concentrating only on the characteristics of literature. Right. Friends, when we talk about literature, there are two types of things, there are two ideas that flash across our mind, and that is good literature and bad literature, you can say, but saying bad literature is not appropriate. So, good literature and non-appropriate literature, you can say, or literature which does not have any utility in our life, right. So, friends, as I told you, literature, right. Literature means anything that is in written form, or not necessarily it is only in written form, it may be in pictorial form or any other form, but the common question about literature is, does it elevate us from the previous thought process or not? If we are reading something and if it is not elevating us, if it is not subliming our mental equipment, mental level, it means the work of literature is not being implemented, it is not being enforced upon me or upon us. So, this is the thing that you should understand. Reading literature means it should be working, it must have some utility actually, right. So, we shall be understanding the characteristic of definition, then we shall be understanding the characteristic of good literature and then non-appropriate literature, right. So, see, major characteristics of a good literature, very important, try to understand. So, what may be the major characteristics, what may be the good qualities of a literature? Any literature that does not have these common characteristics called good characteristics, you cannot count, you cannot classify such literature as good literature, right. So, the first characteristics that we can understand is, any good literature must have the power, any good literature must have the potential to elevate human consciousness. So, a good literature elevates us from the previous thought process, very important. What kind or whatever thought process we were having in past, a good literature tries to elevate us, a good literature elevates us, means it sublimes us from the previous thought process and it helps us to regenerate, it helps us to acquire new kind of thought processes which can further help us to boost our personality, to gain our personality the most fascinating form, right. So, this is the first characteristic of a good literature. A good literature always elevates our previous thought process, right. What may be the second characteristic of a good literature? A good literature sublimes us. A good literature is supposed to sublime us. Subliming means mental sublimation I am talking about, emotional sublimation I am talking about, and almost all kind of sublimation I am talking about. Okay, so this is the core value of a good literature. If it is not subliming our thought process, if it is not subliming our emotional level, it is not subliming our any one of the faculties, it is not good literature. So good literature must have basic two qualities: elevative qualities, then sublimative means it must sublime us. And what may be the next quality of a good literature, friends? So friends, you may be reading different subjects, you may be reading different disciplines. Every discipline, every subject has some motive, right? If you are reading even physics, so there may be some motive behind reading physics. You want to know the physical world, physical phenomena of the nature, right? In the same way, every subject has some motive, and this is why it is there in our curriculum or syllabus, or whether it is at a school level or it is in university level. If something which is taught at university level, it the canvas, the very canvas of that subject becomes very larger, so it is called discipline. In the same context, English literature too has some motive. So if you are reading good literature, means a good literature motivates us to achieve the long cherished dreams of ours. Very important. So as a human beings, we are having aspirations. If we don't have aspirations, means we are no more human beings, right? So having aspirations is one of the qualities of a human beings, right? So a good literature motivates us. It must have motivating quality, right? If a literature does not have motivating quality, it means it doesn't have any utility in simple word. Okay, so good literature motivates us to achieve the long cherished dreams of ours. We are having aspirations, and our aspirations can be achieved, it can be obtained, it can be achieved only through motivation. If an individual is not motivated enough, it is impossible for such person to achieve a simple thing in their life. So aspirations should be achieved, and it should be achieved only through great sense of motivation, right? And when we talk about motivation, it doesn't mean I am talking about extrinsic motivation. I am talking about intrinsic motivation, the self desire to do something which is coming from within, not from without, not from the outer world, rather from the inner world, right? So see, we are human beings, and definitely whatever we want to become, our idea of becoming something must have come from the society, right, in which we are in. Okay, for example, if someone wants to become an IAS, if someone wants to become anything like bank PO or any bank clerk, so the idea of becoming bank PO or clerk or IAS IPS, definitely it is not yours. You are brought up in a society where you may have heard people saying, I want to become this, I want to become that. So your idea of becoming something, basically it is coming from the society where you are in, right? So definitely the idea, the very dream that you are cherishing, it is not yours, but yes, it is yours as the moment you decided that you want to become that. And if you have decided that I want to become that, then definitely what you need is intrinsic motivation, internal motivation, how strongly you want it, how badly you want it. This is very important. Otherwise, it would become just it would remain a dream in simple word, right? So the third quality of literature is it motivating quality, right? The fourth quality, there are n number of qualities of a good literature, but we are not going to deal with all n number of qualities. We are going to deal with only certain quality that would help us to know literature in its complete sense, right? So the next good quality of literature may be a good literature. A good literature filters our human malady it may be emotional, right? It may be emotional or etc. anything. So the malady that we have acquired from the society, from bad company, a good literature also filters those maladies and filters human beings into the best possible human beings. So this is the next quality of a good literature. So what may be the next quality? So filtering quality of a literature. It filters human beings. It filters human beings to be the best human being, right? You may recall your childhood days. You may have heard many short stories, many fairy tales. Why it was told to you? Why such stories were narrated before you? Simply because to get some lesson out of it, right? And accordingly we can groom our personality in the best possible ways. This is one of the reasons the stories were being narrated before us by our grandparents, by our father, mother, and teachers at a school level, right? So filtering quality. So this is the next quality of literature, that it filters human emotions, right? The next quality of a good literature may be, see friends, next quality of a good literature can be a good literature cultures us, right? For example, if we are uncultured, then it is the duty, it is the responsibility of a good literature to culture us, to civilizes us, and finally makes us realize who we are. Very important characteristic of a good literature, right? A good literature cultures us. It civilizes us. See, we human beings are very uncouth, very uncivilized. Okay, but what makes us civilized? What makes us more cultured? What makes us more sensible? It is good literature that civilizes us. Okay, we are in contact with good stories. We are in contact with good people, and as we come in the company of good people, suddenly we try to acquire good traits, good qualities from good people. And this is how good literature works, and this is how good literature civilizes our behaviors, good literature civilizes our thoughts and almost everything, right? And finally, good literature makes us realize who we are. Okay, anyway, we know that who we are, we know we are human beings, but knowing only we are human beings, it is not enough. Okay, good literature makes us realize actually who you are, exactly what you are, right? So this is the very important characteristic of a good literature. Unless or until we understand who we are, we would not be making any strong decision in our life. So good literature also helps us in understanding, in identifying the very essence, the very presence of ours on this earth. So good literature definition, good quality. Next, good quality of a good literature can be, a good literature is something, a good literature moves us from the present state of being. Very important. At present, who we are and how we are, it is not necessary. If you are reading good literature, so good literature has potential, it has caliber to move us, to move us in such a way that it can transform us, right? So basically, transformative quality must have a good literature. So good literature is capable of transforming your present personality into something new, in something called transcendent personality, right? So very important. Next characteristic means a good literature has potential to transform human personality. Very important. transformative quality. So basically we are talking about transformative quality of a good literature. So good literature has immense qualities. It has enormous, tremendous values, tremendous qualities. We have understood some of the qualities, and I hope these qualities would help you to understand the literature in its real sense, in its original sense, right? And so basically so far we have understood literature and its good quality like this. First good quality of a literature we saw is elevative quality. Second, we understood sublimity, so sublimity quality. Third, motivating quality. Fourth, we understood was filtering quality, filtering quality. Fifth, we understood realizing, means basically good literature makes us civilized. So civilizing and culturing qualities. Six, we understood was a good literature moves us means it leaves an indelible imprint. It leaves an impact, you can say, right? So kind of moving quality, very good, moving quality. 7 number, and that is transformative quality. So these are 7 intrinsic or foundational qualities of a good literature. Whenever you are reading literature, just see whether your text, your literature is capable of giving you these qualities, capable of maintaining such qualities or not. If it is not, then definitely you are not in contact with good literature. Leave as soon as possible, because such literature would just make you a stupid one, or it would make you totally kind of uncouth and uncivilized, and in long term you would find that you are of nowhere. So make sure such qualities must be there with good literature. Except these 7 good qualities, the most important quality that we have not discussed so far is 2, suggestive quality and informative quality. If you have watched my last video, then you must have seen that I have talked that 2 basic qualities must have a literature: suggestive and informative quality, right? So see, I am saying 2 qualities as fundamental qualities. So what are those 2 qualities? A good literature, not good literature, in fact any literature must have 2 qualities. So I am talking about literature in general sense, general perception or perspective of literature, general perspective of literature. Try to understand, very important. General perspective of literature. So first is suggestive, and second informative. Anything that you are reading, anything that you are understanding or reading and going through, and if it is suggesting you something, then it is literature, otherwise it is not literature. For example, if you are looking at a blank paper, okay, and the moment you look at the blank paper, do you feel that it is suggesting you something? Sometimes blank paper also suggests something when you are in different state of mind, right? But most of the time blank paper doesn't suggest you anything, right? It is just blank. But when you look at something, for example any board, then something may be written, and the moment you read it out, then it's suggestive. Yes, this is shop, or this may be stationery shop, this may be kirana shop, or this may be anything else, medicine shop, right there. The moment you read something, the moment you read out something, and if it is giving you some idea, means it is suggesting you, so it is called suggestive quality, right? Informative quality means anything that you read and it imparts some information, it gives you some information about something, it is informative quality. So suggestive has limited canvas, it has a limited what we can is idea, but when we say informative, the idea gets wider, and informative is used, the word informative term is used to indicate wider connotation, but suggestiveness is used for to denote limited connotation, right. So basically two more qualities that we can add in terms of reading good literature is 7th and 8th number, suggestive quality, suggestiveness you can say, and 9 number, informative quality, right. So these are foundational qualities of literature, right, and any literature, if it is capable of imparting you such qualities, if it is helping you, if it is enabling you to gather such qualities, basically you are in contact with good literature, so do not think much about it, right. We are also understanding two more things in terms of literature as we are dealing with it. Try to understand. Friends, when we talk about literature, generally two words that we always come across, and that is objective and subjective. So basically we can say nature of literature. So literature that we read, that we study can have two nature. Any literature that we are in contact with, so it may have two nature, it may be objective, it may be subjective. So if I ask you which of the following is more appropriate in order to learn literature, in order to understand literature, and in simple word, if I ask you, does a literature must have any one of the qualities, or does a literature must have two of the qualities, means both of the qualities? You might be thinking both of the qualities, right? I am also thinking same. If a literature doesn't have both qualities, subjective and objective, the literature is useless and it doesn't have any utility in our life, right? So let's understand what does objective and what does subjective stand for actually, right? When we talk about objectivity in literature, it simply means something written about something. If you are reading something and the description, the depiction of some third things have been done in an elaborated manner, it means this literature is written in objective form, it is written in objective way, right? Objectivity in literature is also required in order to give literature good shape, in order to give literature a wonderful and fascinating shape and fascinating kind of style, right? When we talk about subjectivity in literature, means literature which wears the personal involvement of the poets or the writers, that literature is supposed to be subjective literature, or such literature is called subjectivity in literature, right? For example, if you will be reading the poem of William Wordsworth, Daffodils, you would find there is subjectivity, there is subjective touches in that poem, and that poem is called subjective poem. If you read the poem of William Shakespeare, like A Consolation, in this poem too, William Shakespeare has talked much about the subjectivity, right, where the poet is resonating himself. The poet says that, oh thy sweet love, when I remembered, when I will die, who will remember, kind of things is there in that poem. It helps us, it makes us aware that what can be the scope of subjectivity in the poem. So subjective poem basically makes the literature alive. Subjectivity makes the poem or literature alive, and objectivity is also important, but only putting for subjective nature, only putting subjective elements in poetry or literature, will make literature dead. So I would prefer more subjectivity than objectivity, right? Many poems and many poets, like for example John Dryden. If you go through the poem of John Dryden, Alexander Pope, you would find objectivity in the poem. That is not very much suitable, that is not very much appropriate if we talk about in terms of good poetry, right? But if you talk about William Wordsworth and all the romantics, whether it is Wordsworth, Byron, Shelley, John Keats, all of them have given much space to subjectivity actually, and this is why they are remembered even today. So far we have understood the major characteristics of literature, nature of literature, and what are the major characteristics that we have also noted in this way, so that only words would help you, only looking at such words would help you to find out the meaning, the characteristics of literature. In upcoming videos, I'll be dealing with much more about literature and about different topics. I am not only limited to literature, because I have gone through literature, I have read literature, I have been in contact with literature since 4 or 5 years. So I feel more comfortable, I like to talk more on literature. But it doesn't mean that I'll be dealing with only literature and English. I'll be dealing with almost every topics, whether it is the topic of science, whether it is the topic of humanities, social sciences, and competitive examinations like teaching examinations, CTET, STET, any other things. So be with me, and if you have not subscribed yet, please do subscribe my channel if you want to get the quality content, right? Thank you very much everyone. Thank you.